Hi, I'm James McMahon, head of the Atos Digital Workplace, and from my home office today, it's a great honour to be able to talk to you about something that I think is a really critical subject for all organisations today. How do you shape and transform the employee experience within a digital workplace? Let's get started.
In the next few minutes, I'd like to give you an introduction to the topic of digital employee experience and what we're doing with customers around digital workplace. And it's an incredible time to be thinking about coming to work in an organization focused on changing the way we work. Because the crisis of 2020 has really disrupted all workplaces. All work patterns and work styles have changed as a result of the pandemic that the world is going through and will continue to see change. And on the right, you see some of the reasons why it's such an important topic, that many employees are still not engaged with their employer. So as you come into work and you're super excited and you're invested in your employer and you're driving new ways of working and you're passionate, actually that's not the case. And technology can play a huge role in changing that. In fact, the crisis has brought the employee and employer together, but there's so much more organizations can do, and a huge role that technology can play in that. And in the future, the way we work will change, that 40 to 60% home working will become a new normal, we think, with many people wanting to work from home as part of their job. Now, for information workers and office-based workers with a laptop that use IT every day, that may be possible. But in manufacturing, for example, there will still be shop floor workers that will not be able to work at home. So there will be a real mix and a change in the market. So in terms of a career and thinking about the ways of working, there was already a level of frustration pre-crisis that people want more from technology. They expect different ways of working, and there's a great opportunity to work differently. What we see now in 2020 is a huge catalyst for change, as all large organizations around the world look to make a step change in the way people work and in the way technology is used. And I think from a career point of view in the future, that's super, super exciting. So let's take a moment to look at some of the data points around that. And in the past, IT and workplace solutions and infrastructure has really been about providing the platform that enables people to do their work, the technology and tools to do their job, making sure it's available, making sure that it's accessible, and making sure that it's done at a low cost to keep the IT budget down. And actually, we will always have that focus on cost and pressure to be more automated, to do more intelligent things, to use more cloud-based services to enable the way we work. But actually, there's a pivot happening around employee experience, and it's absolutely a strategic priority. And we'll talk about what that means. Today, as we've said about the level of engagement, 62% is higher than it was, but there's so much more we could do. The organizations are looking at how technology and the solutions and the tools people use, the digital tools people use, can really transform the productivity of their businesses and the well-being of their employees. Going forwards, we think that at least 30% of our overall experience is linked to the IT, the technology we provide. I think in some roles that is in fact higher. So it's a super exciting time to come and consider working and looking at the digital technologies that transform employee experience. So what does that mean? And many of you will have read and seen about a new normal of life. Everything has a new normal association to it, and it's absolutely the same for what we're doing. And at Atos and everywhere else, every organization is defining what we think the new normal for the way of work should be. And we've broken it down into two main areas. One, there's been a phase of immediate adjustment. Enabling people to work from home has been a big technology challenge for us all, going from maybe 10% home working to suddenly overnight 90+% home working has tested and challenged the technology, the skills, the infrastructures available for organizations to do that. And many have succeeded. They've enabled remote working. Voice and video usage has exploded within organizations as well as at home, with a massive explosion in the use of Microsoft Teams and Zoom in particular coming from nowhere and growing. I think Teams has around 85 million concurrent active users in a day. For Zoom, they've reported, and they measure differently, over 300 million active users as at the peak. So a real transformation and explosion in the way technology is going to be used. And it's coped admirably with the challenges thrown at it. But one thing we're absolutely sure of is that what has been deployed in a time of crisis is not sustainable for the long term. What does that mean? That means that over the next 3 to 5 years, businesses will have to completely reinvent how they collaborate and communicate. This has been happening and it's been in roadmaps for organizations, but now there's a real drive to do that. And what we're doing and what the whole industry is doing is looking at how we reimagine new ways of working. And that is broken down into a number of areas. Flexible working and reinventing the physical office space. As people return to the office, what does that mean? What does that look like? How do we get this seamless way of working, whether you're at home, traveling, or in the office, or on the shop floor? What does that really mean in terms of the experience of the employee, and what technologies can make a difference? We're looking at how we redefine the way people collaborate, the use of video, the use of workflows and bots, and this concept of citizen developers, where you'll be able to develop new automated business processes without having to necessarily know a line of code, because you can do it automatically with a plug-and-play type interface. Super exciting in terms of the new productivity levels it can introduce, but also requiring a level of control around it to make sure that security is preserved around the data and the content that's being shared and manipulated going forward. We think assisted reality and virtual reality is going to become much more of a mass adopted part of the way we work, giving virtual experts and remote experts the ability to help people using cameras and smartphones, not only the Microsoft HoloLens or Google Glass type technologies that today are very expensive. So lots of change we expect to happen there. And where we're really excited is how data and insight is going to change that. And we'll talk more about these points in a moment, how we can decarbonize and make it a sustainable experience, and absolutely critical, making it accessible and inclusive for all. Today more than ever, these are going to be key tenets of how the workplace shapes up. And the good news for anyone joining it is that all of the industry analysts that look at the IT market see it as a growing market. There's this renewed focus on workplace more than ever. And now is a really exciting time to get involved in some of the technologies. So if we go a step further and say, what does that look like? What are the areas that I could be working in? What are the key components that make this new way of working a reality? And here you see our view of what the key areas that we need to develop new services and platforms and capabilities around. If I focus on the 4 boxes through the middle of the slide, there's a big area of focus around collaboration reimagined. Not only using the tools that you need to do your work, Office 365, Google G Suite, and many of the additional capabilities that we see organizations adopting to work differently. It's not just about deploying, it's about really enabling these platforms to work differently, as I mentioned, with mixed reality, with this seamless experience from home to workplace. Super exciting, some of the changes that are happening there, and these changes happening month on month. So it's around a continuous life cycle and learning and helping customers embrace and adopt different ways of working. The second box is really about how we secure the workplace. There are more security threats to large enterprise organizations than ever before. Whether it's focusing on really cyber security at the highest level and what organizations need to remain secure, or whether it's embedding it deeply into the design of their workplace, security is critical. And there's a lot of changes and transformations happening about how we can manage the whole workplace from the cloud. Moving away from a traditional mindset that you have a device provided by your employer, you're connected to their network, and there's big firewalls around the outside that is securing everything. That mindset that is maybe been around since the start of IT, to be honest, is fundamentally broken now. So rewriting the way we provide what we call a zero trust framework around the devices, the data, the applications, the identity of people within the workplace is a super exciting, changing place where there's a lot of opportunity to focus on technology. Underneath it, we need to make it proactive and data-driven. So the analytics and the data is what makes it different. We're focusing on the experience and how we change that experience. But how do we measure that is what makes it special. Measuring the sentiment of end users, not only what IT tell us about the performance of systems, but when you combine that with the sentiment of end users and the experience, it's something we call an XLA or experience level agreement, is when things get really super exciting for us and also for the companies that we work with in terms of really learning what makes a difference to the employees and the workforce and trying to make that as specific to the individual as possible, but always backed by data so we can drive our behaviors and a change in the environment based on data and information we seize. And finally, the Intelligent Care Center is really how we provide support to end users. Our goal is to drive automation as far as possible and to become proactive so there isn't a need for end users to contact us for help. But the reality is we're not in that position yet, and users will continue to need help. And that help will change, whether it's IT or HR or around their specific working environment. They're going to want to ask for help. How can we make them more productive? Bringing them closer through different channels of technology, whether it's call or chat or through a mobile application or within their stream in Microsoft Teams. How we support them and provide information is something that there's a lot of focus. And again, sentiment analysis is a big part of that. Being able to use the data and insight to help agents anticipate what the end user is about to ask is something that's very cool happening in there. When you wrap that up, it's an incredible amount of technology change. So change and adoption and taking that platform of technologies and helping organizations work differently and focusing on the people, which in the end use that technology, it is a massive part of that. And over the coming years on top, we'll see some new technology platforms emerging around employee engagement that focus on it from a much more of a HR IT angle. It's going to be super interesting to see how the different areas combine. Lots of opportunities to learn new areas, and for us, lots of opportunities to go to the customer. Finally, Atos is very much focused on becoming decarbonized, publishing our own ambition to become net zero by 2035 is going to be incredible in terms of the journey we go on with our customers in the next few years. And here, how we can reduce infrastructure, use highly efficient cloud platforms to deliver our workplace, but also fundamentally change the way people work and travel less and collaborate smarter, is going to really contribute to not only our decarbonized ambition, but also to that of our customers. There's so much change is going to really accelerate from now through the next 3, 5, 10 years that I think we will have probably never seen speed in such the same way in the past. So the platform and the previous slide is about what we're building and some of the things that are really important for our customers. Here you see that translated to the service view. Fundamentally, it's about delivering services to large organizations, services that will really make a difference. And this summarizes some of the things I've mentioned today that I think would be great for you to get involved in and excited about how some of those services really make a difference, whether it's around changing the way of work and securing the workplace in the future, whether you're interested in data and how data-driven insight is going to predetermine how we act in the services we deliver, whether it's the physical workspace and workplace that's going to change and is absolutely changing as we safely return to the workplaces now at this time when I record this webinar, and then some of the more people-focused aspects that are going to be absolutely critical. Coaching, accessibility, well-being, inclusive design, if you're interested in the design side. How do we make sure the workplace is inclusive for all? How do we ensure that end users and people are engaged and feel safe and secure and their mental well-being is not impacted negatively by the workplace, and that technology is absolutely being a positive enabler for them? It's going to be absolutely key to focus in this area. And as I say, decarbonizing that workplace experience is something that is very core to the heart of what Atos is doing. So lots of opportunity, a very, very broad topic. And finally, just to close, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Every organization, as I said, has been impacted by what we do and what has happened in the last 3 months, which is the beginning of 2020. And that will continue to change. But the relevance of this to organizations is when you make it specific. Understanding that some people across all organizations work in the same way. But as you understand the personas and the roles within the different industries and start to define what we call the digital journeys that each end user goes on a daily basis, or when they join a new company, or as they step foot onto the shop floor each day, what does that look like, and how can we optimize that to make that person as safe, secure, productive as possible? And you see here the 6 core industries as Atos separates them and segments them. And you begin to see how a digital employee experience focus applies to each of the different areas. So in manufacturing, looking at the need of the R&D and design teams is very, very specific to them. Very high-end ways of working, looking at 3D designs and really understanding specifically what they do with technology is something that can make a difference to their productivity and how fast they can get that next product released through the R&D phase. The shop floor experience, there are millions of first-line and front-line workers that are more important than ever to society, and how we digitally enable them is going to be key. Some of the things that we're doing today around healthcare and life sciences, ensuring that some of the life science customers we have can develop vaccines faster than ever, host clinical trials without the delays of the past, speeding up those processes whilst not losing any security, helping nurses and healthcare professionals use collaboration tools to stay better connected within the hospital. So many different use cases where the technology platform and the services I've talked about could have a real massive impact on each industry, and being able to focus on either the services themselves as a career path or zooming in on a specific industry will unlock lots and lots of new ideas and ways of working for the future. So hopefully that's been interesting and has given you some ideas of what digital employee experience could bring you as a career option in the future.
Thanks very much for listening. Hopefully you've learned about how employee experience can really transform the way organizations work. I'd love to get your feedback via LinkedIn or Twitter, and hopefully you found it useful and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.